I'm trying to watch my girl figure.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it is. Okay. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call the Ottumwa City Council meeting to order for January 18th, 2022, and we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and Chris will do the roll call.
Councilmember Galloway. Here. Councilmember McIntyre.
Here.
Councilmember Holt.
Here.
Councilmember Pope.
Here.
Councilmember Rowe.
Here.
Mayor Johnson.
Here.
Items on the consent agenda. Minutes from regular meeting number 1 on January 4th, 2021, and special meeting number 2 on January 11th, 2022, as presented. Approve the appointment of Wes Olson to the Historic Preservation Commission, term to expire 1/1/2023 due to a vacancy. Approve the appointment of Philip Bergmeyer to the position of City Engineer on or about January 23rd, 2022. Approve the promotion of Officer Scott Adams to rank of Sergeant effective on or about January 30th, 2022. Purchase rock salt for the 2021-2022 fiscal year end through Iowa Department of Transportation's contract for snow and ice removal. Approve the replacement of a walk-behind paint sprayer for the Traffic Department for a total cost of $7,412.04. Resolution number 10, 2022, setting February 1st, 2022 as the date of a public hearing for the consideration of the maximum property tax dollars for the city's proposed fiscal year 23 budget. Beer and/or liquor applications for American Gothic Performing Arts at 529 East Main with outdoor service area, La Guadalupana at 301 Church Street, Hy-Vee Food Store number 1 at 1025 North Quincy Avenue, Fairway Stores Incorporated at 1325 Albia Road, Dollar General Store number 7179 at 721 North Quincy Avenue, Dollar General Store number 2898 at 921 East Main Street, Cedar Creek Golf Course at 13120 Angle Road, all applications pending final inspections.
We need to approve the consent agenda, right? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Hull,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
The next item is to approve our agenda for tonight's council meeting. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented with the removal of item G3.
Second.
Okay. Chris, you want to take the roll?
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Hull,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
The next item is the administrator's report. And so Phil, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I didn't have anything specific to report tonight. I know that later on in the agenda, we have a public hearing for talking about the request to remove the breed-specific language from the city code in reference to dangerous animals. That was set at the last meeting. I had received a request for clarification. Just so that people here tonight, people watching at home and the council, we don't have anything on the agenda specific to taking any particular action on this other than listening to those that have wanted to come forward and speak their piece on the request from that. So I just want to make that clear that we're not looking to necessarily take any action tonight. That is not on here. We don't have any code revised or otherwise to vote on, but definitely take any conversation, communication from the public tonight, and anything from this point forward until a decision by this body would be made. So that is all I wanted to mention on that. Thank you.
Okay. At this point, I would ask if there's anybody in the audience that wants to address any of the agenda items tonight. And we do have several people that want to speak on the pit bull ban discussion. So is there anybody in addition to those folks that plan on speaking tonight?
Yes, Your Honor. Keith Cavanis, 2851 Oak Meadow Drive. I would like to speak on the, item number 4 issue.
The pit bull issue?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Keith. We'll make a note of that. Anyone else want to speak on any of the agenda items tonight? If not, we'll go ahead and move to department recommendations and reports.
Bid review and contract award for asbestos removal and disposal of materials at 236 Phillips, Ottumwa, Iowa. Recommendation: accept bid and award contract to Dan Larson for the sum of $5,400.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Zach, you want to go ahead and take the discussion on this?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. The city received bids for this project until 2 p.m. January 11, 2022. One bid was received, and Dan Larson was the best bid for asbestos removal with the sum of $5,400. This is a placarded property that was previously condemned by the council. Staff recommends awarding him the contract. After asbestos is abated, staff will release the property to the fire department, and they're looking at doing a training fire there. And after the training fire, we would bid again for the cleanup, and then we do the cleanup to completely level the lot, reseed it, that kind of thing.
Anybody have any questions for Zach?
Just one, just for clarification for the rest of the new council. The fire department typically handles 2 of these a year, correct, for training purposes?
And they've been, I think, wanting one for a while, and we haven't had a good fit, so.
Any other discussion or questions? Okay, Chris, take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Writing a 2021 staffing for adequate fire and rescue safer grant application. Recommendation: approve writing a 2021 staffing for adequate fire and rescue safer grant application to be submitted prior to February 4th, 2022.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Fire Chief Tony Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Basically what we're in the process right now is writing a SAFER grant. SAFER grant is the federal government will come in and pay for 3 years. The only cost to the city would be hiring costs, physicals, testing, and stuff like that. But the salary benefits would be paid by the SAFER grant by the federal government. This grant is due, closes February 4th at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But after talking to some of my friends in Washington, D.C., they said if this grant's not written by the end of January, that it might be hard getting this grant. So this grant will be done by next Thursday. We got a lot of work to do on this thing yet, and that's where we're at.
And it's my understanding this is a one-time funding for 3 years.
It's a one-time funding for 3 years. However, after 3 years, the city would have to make a decision whether to keep the staffing that would be get hired or not keep the staffing.
So I have a question. So this is 3 additional firefighters besides the ones that were just hired, correct?
Yes, this would bring us back to 3 10-person crews.
Okay. And then Kayla, so in 3 years, I mean, I know you can't tell the future, but I'm making an assumption that if we're applying for this, we're not looking at cutting 3 people in 3 years?
Well, I can't say that our financials, are definite because I don't have a crystal ball either. But I mean, the assumption would be with some of the work that we've been doing for revenues coming in and, with our valuations continuing to increase, buildings being built, houses being built, and also our work that we're doing right now with franchise fees, that we should be able to support this financially from our general fund at that point. Yes.
Thank you.
And also say that past grants like this, there was a matching portion where you had so many years that they paid and you had to balance that out with the equal amount of years on the backside. This one does not require that. So worst case scenario, at the end of 3 years, if the revenues weren't there, we'd be facing a decision on, keeping staffing or reducing the staffing at that point. So there's like no risk to apply for the grant. If we get the grant, there's still a decision that can be made to accept the award or not. So this is actually just to kind of apply for that and proceed down that. Again, there's no risk because there's no matching on the other side. There's no cost to us other than the time to do that and then maintain the grant.
Yeah, there's a couple more things I want to add to this. There's $560 million in this account that they're going to, for the SAFER grant. They're projecting they're going to have approximately 500 awards given. So this is, of all the grants I've ever written, this is probably the most competitive one I've ever written.
The other point of that too that they have announced and that we went through the training on is there's a portion of this grant now that's for retention. And so, there could be potential at the end of this too for us to apply and or ask for a retention grant at that point as well.
And at this point, that would fully, our firefighters would fully all be in?
Yes, from the 6 that we had cut a couple years ago, then we would be back to the fully staffed at 10 crews or 10 people per crew.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
So just for clarification, this is actually being written for, is it being written for 3 firefighters or up to 3 firefighters?
It's going to be written for 3 additional firefighters, which will bring us up to 10-person crews.
So if they, would they consider, so if we write it for 3, is there a possibility we're only going to get 1 or 2 or all 3?
One thing about these grants, what you write this grant for is normally what you get.
Okay.
They don't vary from these. As one person's been out to read these grants prior to this, is they don't make a lot of changes to the grant on amount of people or whatever. Whatever it's written for is what they like to award for.
Are we taking a risk by doing that?
I don't think we are taking a risk because, like I said, there's going to be no cost to the city for 3 years. You're looking around $240,000 grant that we can, if we get the grant, we will. This is what we'll save.
Taking a risk losing out on the grant by writing it for 3 and not varying?
After talking to many cities, city leaders about this, I don't think more than 10-person crews is going to be an option.
Okay.
We'd be happy with going back to 10-person crews.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, Chris, you want to take the roll?
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Cooper Avenue reconstruction project.
I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. And I believe, Larry, you're going to present information.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This project involves full width, full depth PCC reconstruction of Main Street to 2nd Street on Cooper. The water main was replaced in 2019. Bids will be received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on February 9th, 2022 at 2 p.m. The bid report and bid award recommendation will be presented to the City Council on the meeting of February 15th or 2022 or later date is determined by staff. We've got the budgeted amount and the estimated cost listed below. It is part of the 2021 CIP. We just had some pictures to present. Just kind of, since you weren't here during the original selection process, we just pulled up the original CIP sheets and was going to show you pavement condition, just kind of flip through them. One of the things that occurred on this street was several water main breaks that I don't know if you've drove any of these side streets. We have 3 of them that we want to program and kind of move some of the CIP to. The rideability is clear gone. It's kind of beyond trying to go in and patch and get the ride back. We had several long areas, if you drive it, that you can see where we kind of just patched in with asphalt.
he's going to speak to.
If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I guess just as a little bit more information, it is 27 foot wide, 750 feet long.
Does anyone in the public have any questions for Larry? Or any council members have any questions they want to ask? Okay, if not, then I'm going to request that someone make a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Chris?
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Resolution number 7, 2022, approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Cooper Avenue reconstruction project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 7, 2022.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Oh, I thought we already, oh, okay, we didn't. I'm sorry. Okay, we need to go ahead and vote on the recommendation to pass and adopt resolution number 7, 2022.
I'll
Want to
make a
take the
motion.
roll?
We need a motion.
Oh, I thought you already did that.
No, that was to close. the
Okay,
hearing.
I'm sorry. Do we have a motion and a second?
Yes.
Motion.
All right. Now you can take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated costs for the Lillian Street reconstruction project.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing, and I believe Larry's going to take this one also.
This project also involves full width, full depth PC reconstruction of Lillian Street, Mary Street to Williams. Work includes ADA compliant handicap drops at all intersections, storm and sanitary sewer improvements. These are spot improvements. We are working with Ottumwa Water and Hydro on replacement of the existing water main. They're reviewing break history. We do have it included as an alternate bid item, and then we'll, depending on the bids and how that comes out, that'll be part of the project, I expect. As always, Ottumwa Water Works reimburses us for all water main improvements. That would include service to stop boxes, valves, fire hydrants, and associated work. Bids will be received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on February 9th, 2022 at 2 p.m. A bid report and bid award recommendation will be presented to the City Council on February 15th, 2022, or at a later date determined by staff. The budgeted amount is $844,767. It again is a CIP project.
Does anyone in the audience or any of the city council members have any questions for Larry?
Just one. Do you know, aside from the water, are there any other utilities that are located under the street?
You've got some gas that parallels one side of the street. We've got storm in areas, and then we're just going to spot repair a couple sanitaries, and we have to modify some storm at the far end that was separated in a previous separation job on the north end.
Thank you.
You can see the overall condition. It's kind of beyond normal repair, mill, fill, things like that.
Are there any other questions or comments for Larry?
How long do you think a project like this will take?
I think we have 45 days, working days. The one thing that's working days. That doesn't count holidays, doesn't count weekends, doesn't count rain days. And we'd estimated around 20 days for water main work, and then the street surface is relatively quick because there's very little other underground other than tile.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Chris, take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Resolution number 8, 2022, approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Lillian Street reconstruction project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 8, 2022.
Do we have a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Second.
Chris, take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing to consider requests to remove breed-specific language from city code in reference to dangerous animals and requested through petition number 5086, 2021, submitted to the city clerk's office on October 29th, 2021.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing, and we do have several people that have asked to speak. And Keith, you want to go ahead and start, and then we'll go through the people that I have sheets on. 3-minute time limit for everybody that wants to speak.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the council, I served on this council during the period that this item was put on the agenda and passed. Unfortunately clearly remember the young lady, the young girl who had her face bit off by a pit bull. It was her family dog. She accidentally got out the back door of her home, wandered into an unlocked cage, and the bull made no difference whether it was family or not. So one of those things is enough in a lifetime. I can tell you that we may have saved several people's lives, but if not, at least being bitten. And I think it's important to note when our law enforcement people go into a home to search for drugs or whatever, the first thing that those people usually have at their front door is a pit bull. They know that they can keep the police at bay while they disposed of the illegal drugs. So I am not in favor of changing the language. At the time that we enacted this, we had the concurrence of our licensing people in Ottumwa that they would not license a pit bull, therefore making it in violation of city code to have it in the city limits. I still think it's a good law. I know there are a lot of people that disagree. I know there are several people that want to talk about all the different breeds of pit bulls. But the bottom line is we need to keep our city and our people and our law enforcement safe. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Keith. Next, we have Shannon Murphy.
Hello. So Gracie is here. She's my service dog. She's a pit bull. She's fantastic with my grandkids. She's our fourth pit bull that we've had in the 20 years we've been together. I think they're great family dogs. I chose her for a variety of reasons when I got a service dog. So I was bitten by a bulldog when I was about 10 years old, picked up off the ground, shaken like nobody's business. They're not illegal. My son, when he was 5 and he's 26 now, was bit by a miniature Sheltie, ripped his lip open and his ear open, and they're not illegal. And he's still terrified by them. Any dog can be vicious. It is how you raise them. And I am aware of law enforcement. I respect them greatly. I think that you have to, I don't know. We've had a lot of cops at our house that have met Gracie. None of them have been afraid of her. None of them. And we were burglarized almost 3 years ago, and we always leave her shut in the bathroom if we do go out, just the two of us, because I fall. That's her helping me she helps me up if I fall, but if I go with my husband, we don't always take her. And we were burglarized, and they let the dog out of the bathroom. They let her out to potty. They let her back in when she was done, and then they left. How's that dangerous to someone coming in my house? Obviously not, because she didn't bite them, and they cleaned us out. So I just think it's time. I think it needs to be about a dangerous animal. And if anybody's that worried about it, require people to carry renters or homeowners insurance, a rider. When we lived in Fairfield and we had a pit bull, we had a rider on our policy. It was $6 a year. Maybe that's a good solution. I don't know. I just think that they're great dogs, and we already have them in this town. If anybody pays attention, it would be more beneficial to me to have it legislated if they bite, this happens. If this happens, this is, if this happens, this is repercussion. If this happens, this is repercussion, not just, because it is unconstitutional in my opinion. And it's just the same as racism used to be, because you can't tell what they are by looking at all of them. I tell people Gracie's a pit bull because I'm not ashamed, and because I've had quite a few people in public tell me before, aren't they mean? I'm like, does she look mean? You've been petting her for 5 minutes. Well, no. There you go. So when we got together, we had a Rottweiler who lived across the street out on Taft, and it had been deemed vicious. And they had that dog on tow chain, and my kids were 4 and 7. And we used to have, instead of fire drills about what do you do if we have a fire in the middle of the night, we used to have, what do you do if you're playing outside and the dog gets off of its lead? You lay down and you bury your head under your arms until mommy can get out there.
Shannon, do you have any other closing comments? Because we're past our 3 minutes.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you
I know I
very
lost
much.
track of time.
Appreciate your comments. Marcia McDaniel.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. My name is Marcia McDaniel. I've led and organized the Coalition to End Ottumwa's Pit Bull Ban. On behalf of the coalition, I'd like to thank the members of Ottumwa City Council who took the time to meet with us to discuss our folder of facts. We'd also like to thank Phil Rath for his time in regards to this matter. We'd also like to thank Preston Moore, the director of Iowa's Humane Society, for his advice and leadership, and Nikki Junsham, foundation manager at the Animal Farm Foundation, for her guidance, recommendations, and information. I personally want to thank Ottumwa's advocates, some you'll hear from this evening, those who feel they cannot speak out of fear of losing family pets. We speak on your behalf as well. I do this for the love of my own dogs and can only imagine how horrific it must be to have your family pet seized and sent away for simply what it looks like. I'm now going to simply read my editorial that was published in the Ottumwa Courier for those that didn't get a chance to read it. I'd like to educate the citizens of Ottumwa on what the city will surely face in the future if its breed-specific ordinance is not revised. In 2019, the city of Sioux City, after 4 long years of court battles, was forced to revise its pit bull ban. The Animal Farm Foundation funded this lawsuit and spent $300,000 to do so. For the first time, the discriminatory ordinance was up against being unconstitutional, and the city had no choice but to revise it. The truth of the American Pit Bull is the breed tested better in temperament than many breeds, according to the American Temperament Testing Society. With a pass rate of 87.4%, that's better than the Golden Retriever at 85.6%. The Australian Cattle Dog, that's a healer, at 79.6%. And even Ottumwa High School's own mascot, the English Bulldog, finished in the temperament testing at 80%. That's just to name a few. According to Embark, a leader in DNA testing, the 2 most found genetics in Iowa of mixed breed dogs tested are a Lab and the American Pit Bull Terrier. It's time Ottumwa City Council sees the failures the pit bull ban is and quickly get busy to reverse it to include all breeds and stop using visualization to identify a dangerous dog. A quote from the American Veterinary Medical Association: "Any dog can bite. According to the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, early positive experiences, most notably socialization, are considered key in preventing aggressive tendencies in dogs." Ottumwa's ordinance actually gives the community a false sense of security, as it does not keep the banned breed out of the city. It only eliminates these dogs from the experiences they need to eliminate aggression. I urge the City Council to revise the pit bull ban. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. Melissa Childs.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you this evening. My name is Melissa Childs. In addition to being a resident of Ottumwa, I've been a professional dog trainer for over 11 years. In that time, I've seen nothing to make me believe that the Pit Bull Terrier is an inherently aggressive breed, but I'm here today to talk to anyone who does. What I want to tell you is exactly what this breed ban does. It does not keep any dogs out of our community. In order to enforce a breed ban, we have to have an agreed upon way of identifying that breed. And as a professional in the field, I can tell you, we are so far, even as professionals, from being able to do that. We have no clear way of deciding what is and is not a Pit Bull Terrier. I doubt anybody is surprised to know that there are plenty of Pit Bull Terriers in this city, but they do live in hiding. The problem is they cannot attend training classes. They are not legally allowed to attend my training classes because they're held within Ottumwa city limits. As you heard from Marcia, socialization and training is the #1 thing that you can do to prevent a dog from becoming aggressive. In addition to that, owners do not take them to the vet. A lot of owners of pit bulls do not take them to the vet to get vaccinations like parvo, which would easily spread to other dogs in our community, or even rabies, which can spread to humans. They're afraid if they do, that the dogs will be found out and seized from their family. So even if you still believe that Pit Bull Terriers are an inherently aggressive breed, this ban does absolutely nothing to keep them out of our town and keep our community safe. What it does do, though, is create the perfect circumstances for them to become the aggressive dogs that we fear. What I'm asking tonight is that you take the necessary steps to move away from a ban based on breed and move towards a law that asks all dog owners to be responsible for their pets and requires all dogs to behave in ways that are safe within our community, regardless of breed. Thank you.
Thank you. John Rambo. Did I pronounce the last name correctly? Because I couldn't quite read the last name. Okay. We have Rambo with us tonight.
Good evening, guys. All dogs can be bad and good. I only want to bring up the fact that I moved to town about a year ago, and we've actually had problems with a pit bull in our neighborhood. We've actually had the animal control guy involved, and we actually had to have a police officer come remove it from our screened-in porch, which it broke into. It actually ripped through the screen and the security gate. If my glass sliding door was open and just the screen door was closed onto the house, it could have came into my house. It is aggressive towards other animals. It's not towards people. The officer had no problem getting it out, but it was aggressive towards animals. So I have 2 cats in my house. It absolutely could have came in. So, like I said, all dogs can be good, bad. Big dogs are, a problem anywhere, but my specific problem since I moved here has been a pit bull. That's really all I have to say.
Thank you. Marina Botkins. Okay. Shelby Minks.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. My name is Shelby Minks, and I've been working with the Coalition to End Ottumwa's Pit Bull Ban for many years. Since we started our petition online, I have attended all of the city council meetings over the past few months, and I've noticed 2 constant subjects being brought up: how to expand and increase city revenue, and how to bring individuals to Ottumwa. A couple of examples are the Main Street renovation, the Bonita housing project, and the potential new sports complex. With pit bulls being the #1 breed and DNA-tested mixed breed dogs across a vast majority of the country, do we think that anyone looking at moving to Ottumwa would make the decision to join our community if they have a beloved family pet that they would have to rehome in order to do so? One of the major issues with this ban is that it is impossible to enforce as it stands right now. There is science that, if asked, I could provide to the council that states it is extremely difficult, if not next to impossible, to label a dog's breed by looks alone. The fact of the matter is, there are pit bulls in this community that do nothing more than love their families. It is unfair that these dogs that cause no issues in the community can be taken from their home at any moment strictly for existing in a community that is intolerant. I'm sure there are dogs in the community that have pit bull in their bloodlines, but do not physically look like a pit bull, so they are safe. Meanwhile, there are dogs that might not have any pit bull in their DNA, but since they appear as a stereotypical pit bull, they're taken away from their homes and sent to shelter. Unless we are going to DNA test every single dog that is picked up by law enforcement, this ordinance is not enforceable and highly discriminatory. On the topic of law enforcement, I work with officers daily in my position at the county attorney's office, and this ordinance gives an impossible challenge to an already overworked police department. We're asking these officers to visually identify a dog as a certain breed by looks alone. Then we are asking these officers to take these family dogs away from their homes and take them somewhere that is highly stressful and terrifying for these dogs. How is this fair to anyone involved? I have noticed over the last few years that law enforcement agencies all over the country are adopting pit bulls as canines for their departments. I've also seen a rise in pit bulls as service animals for disabled individuals. Do you think law enforcement agencies and people with disabilities would employ this breed if they were inherently dangerous? We do not judge or discriminate against all individuals of a certain age, race, or gender based off of the actions of one individual. Why are we doing this with one breed of canines? In closing, I would like everyone to take a second and think about this. What if one day the breed of your beloved family dog were to be the subject of a community-wide ban? How would you feel? Thank you.
Thank you, Shelby. I don't have a last name on this next one other than the name Larry, 102 North Ward. Could you state your last name?
Money.
Pardon?
Money.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So my main point was that I wanted to bring up is instead of deeming a dog, by the breed, all these dogs have to be properly vaccinated, rabies shots, license. They got to go through the vet, instead of the police officers, looking for these dogs and listen for complaints of these dogs. Why not let the vet take care of that? Who knows animals better than the veterinarian? If you have to bring your dog, no matter what breed it is, if you have to bring your dog in on a muzzle and clear the vet so your dog can get vaccinated, that's a vicious dog. But if you can walk your pit bull in there and it's fine and it's healthy, then why, specify that dog cannot be in the city limits and make it easier on the police officers, because the police officers can check the local vets. If they have a list, hey, such and such brought this dog in. It was very aggressive. We have concerns with this dog. Then the officer can go speak with that individual, see the dog, and address the situation from there before it gets out of control. The vets see these dogs from the time they're 6 weeks old all the way throughout their lives. They're capable of making the call whether the dog's vicious or not. And as far as some of these dogs are more aggressive, the dogs that are in Ottumwa, but that's because they don't get socialized. People can't take their dogs to the dog park and socialize with other dogs and so forth. They're hiding them. They can't walk them. They can't do anything with their dogs. And like the other ladies stated, that's not helping anything with the breed. And it wouldn't with any breed of dog. Everybody's familiar with Chihuahuas are a very aggressive dog. Shih Tzus are very aggressive dogs. There's a lot of other breeds out there that are a lot more dangerous than a pit bull. And for the officers to have to take the dogs out of their home, away from their kids and so forth, what's that showing our younger youth? That their dog, I've raised dogs all my life. When I moved to Ottumwa, we had to get rid of our dogs, for work. And it discourages a lot of people from moving to Ottumwa. Ottumwa is the closest place for a lot of surrounding areas that has good paying jobs. You got JBS, John Deere, you got a lot of other companies here that are, having a hard time hiring people because they just don't have the staff to hire them. And I think that would help a lot in that situation as well. But my main thing was let the vet diagnose the dog as a dangerous dog, not a breed specific. That's my main point. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Chris Munt.
Chris Munt, to go off of Larry saying other dogs that are vicious, I own a Chihuahua. They are ankle biters. But any breed specific deterrence of having a dog in the city of Ottumwa doesn't help the city of Ottumwa. We need to look more at the people that own the dogs. Dogs that are set out on a chain with just a little tiny crate to be in and pay no attention to them their entire life. I have a lady, I live next door to somebody that has dogs, and I don't know that they're pit bulls. You can't tell. But these dogs are not socialized. They're not given any love. And a dog gives you unconditional love. You can be gone 5 minutes or 5 hours, and they're just as excited to see you either way. So, and I moved here just a year ago. Did not know this existed of a pit bull ordinance. I don't own a pit bull. I have fostered many pit bulls with my other dogs and have had no problem with them. They come in. I had a little female pit bull who had just had her puppies taken away from her at 8 weeks old. She came into my house with my 4 cats and my 3 dogs. And in no time at all, she was just part of the pack. They each had their own place to go and eat. Nobody was food aggressive. It's not the dog, it's the people. And we need more laws to make sure dogs are attended to. If you bring a pet into your home, treat it as family. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Felicia Morrow.
Okay, thank you all for giving us the opportunity to speak. First off, all dogs breeds need to socialize and exercise. While Ottumwa has a dog park for dogs, as you already know, no pit bulls are allowed with the BSL, which is unjust for their growth and being well-tempered. No dog should be banned based on its looks, especially if a mixed breed is so properly mixed. Having to pay a fine is one thing, but having to rehome is another. No one should have to rehome a pet when a pet is supposed to be its forever home. I stand here in front of you today and ask for you to listen and to be just, because I am and have been personally affected by the pit bull ban. I rescued a pit bull from Ottumwa just 3 years ago that was running loose. While I do live on the river and I technically live right outside of city limits, I am not really in any critical condition of it. But when there is bad road conditions and I live in a flooding area, I do have to go inside city limits and stay with family during that time. I am a part of this coalition because when it gets too cold out and with the flooding area, I can't leave my animal there and I can't abandon them in freezing weather or in the flood area. Not to mention it being against the law, but I hate being scared that my dog can't even go outside just because he might be seen. All dogs deserve to go on a walk, to go to the park, to be on car rides. It's unfair that pit bulls get discriminated against. It's my hometown. I was born and raised here, but I can't even feel safe or comfortable going to it with my dog. I can't move back into town with the dog I rescued due to this ban. Please help us get this ban revised. It has been 20 years and it's time for a change. Don't bully the bully breed. Blame the bleed done. I was personally bit by a family dog when I was younger. It was a lab and we kept him. I went to the hospital, I got stitches, and we kept him until he died of old age. it all just depends on what is done. It doesn't depend on the breed itself. Thank you.
Thank you. The last person that we have a paper on to speak is Aaliyah DeLeon. Did I pronounce that right? I knew I was going to probably botch that one.
We got the first name right.
How do you pronounce your last name?
De Leon.
De Leon. Okay. Sounds much better than the way I said it.
That's okay. I had a huge spiel set out that I was going to say. I'm going to kind of paraphrase it a little bit. Sorry.
That's fine.
This is a very emotional issue for many of us. Let me try to get, okay. On July 1st, 2020, my husband was working out of town and ended up saving a puppy from being dumped. We were told he was an American Bulldog mix. We named him Dodger. Since we have had him, we've had no problems with him being aggressive towards anyone. He was a sweet, lovable puppy that loved to play with kids and chase balls. In May 2021, my daughter and I were at the store and I kept getting blink notifications. When I finally pulled up my notifications, Officer Williams was at our home. And that time we were only gone from home about 20 minutes and someone called the police station stating that our dogs didn't have any food or water. They were just put outside and were given food and water before we left. We just need to get a few things from the store, then we were on our way back home. Someone they didn't know was protecting their territory and being the dominant male dog he was, he was protecting his territory and being the dominant dog he was protecting our other two female dogs. Dodger was trying to get the other dogs away from Officer Williams. Since dogs obviously can't talk, he was barking, growling, and pulling at their fur to get them back. Apparently, Officer Williams labeled this as aggressive behavior, which if he knew our dog, he would have known that that's how he plays. He was still a puppy and played like one. When we got home, I had a door hanger on my door handle to go to the police station to talk to Officer Williams. We put our groceries away, then we went right down to the police station to talk to the officer. He told me why he was called to our home and what the allegations were against us. He said the dogs didn't have any food and you could tell where they had spilled their water. He also said that since it wasn't too hot or humid out, it wasn't too much of a big deal. He then stated asking about our dogs, what breeds they were, their names, about their shots, etc. He then told me that he observed an aggressive behavior by Dodger. I told him that he knew that what he knew was and what the vet labeled him as. And I told him I had some suspicion about it, but I didn't worry too much about it because of what we were told he was and that the vet labeled him as an American Bulldog. He then gave me an ultimatum of getting rid of the dog or moving out of city limits in order to keep him. He gave me phone numbers for 2 different people that could possibly help me with finding him a home or taking him off our hands. I called both numbers and neither of them was able to help me at the time. Officer Williams gave me 1 week time frame to get rid of him or he would be issuing me another fine. I then also had to pay a fine. My daughter found a lady who was able to take him off our hands and was off to his new home in a little over a week after talking with Officer Williams. I don't feel that we should have had to gotten rid of him because he showed aggression towards the other dogs or to Officer Williams, who in their right mind puts their hand in a cage with a dog they don't know. My aunt has Chihuahuas, and if you reach in their kennel, they will attack you. Does that make them aggressive or labeled as dangerous animal? This is why the pit bull ban needs to be revised. People should not have to get rid of their animals if they have never shown any form of aggressive behavior. Dodger was a great dog, and it was a very sad day when he had to leave our home. As of today, Dodger still has not shown any aggression, according to the family that has taken him. They say that he is one of the sweetest dogs they've ever had. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on the pit bull ban? If not, I believe Officer Williams was going to also say something this evening. That's fine. Go ahead and give your name, please.
Tanya Simonson. So everything that everybody says about the pit bulls is true. I mean, they're a beautiful dog. I love dogs. One thing that I keep hearing is, it's how they're treated, it's how they're raised. Our dog was in our yard and Our neighbor's pit bull got out and came into our yard and killed it. Our dog was a 120-pound Siberian Husky. And so when you talk about a Chihuahua being an aggressive dog, that dog wouldn't have killed our dog. The dog that came into our yard, the people were absolutely shocked that this dog did this. They had other dogs. They had a big fenced-in backyard, and they played back there. And it had you couldn't see where they were at because it was the wooden privacy fence. They had little children that they had pictures that this dog laid with these kids. And so I believe any dog can be mean at any time. I'm not just saying pit bulls. I get it. You guys love your dogs, and we loved ours, but we don't have it anymore because this dog came into our yard and attacked it. And I get a phone call from my elderly mom who was at the house. It was all captured on our Ring doorbell. So of course, there's that. But I just wanted to say that. I wanted to say more, but it's just, thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Anyone else in the audience like to speak? If not, Officer Williams, were you going to speak tonight? Or Chief Farrington?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Council. I'm going to have Jeff come up. He's my resident expert, our community service officer. He's been in this position for a good number of years. Just wanted to let you guys know that I will have a share link. There's some case studies here that are local that include photographs, videos, and written work. It's going to be easier to provide you with that information in a share link apparatus. IT Ed will be helping me with that tomorrow, and we'll get that information out to you. But I'm just going to have Jeff talk to you a little bit tonight about when we actually experience a report or somebody calls us, reference that a pit bull is in town, kind of walk you through that process and how he looks into those items.
Thank you.
Mayor, Council. So basically, what we do is if I get a complaint of someone maybe having a pit bull, and I'll go to their house and knock on the door, they'll answer, they'll talk to me. And a lot of times they'll show me the dog, and it's not a pit bull. I mean, it's obviously that looks like American Bulldog. So the person was thinking it was a pit bull, was not. So that happens a lot. So just because someone says a pit bull, I check it out, and it's not, that's how it is, and I go on my way. Now, if I get there and it is a pit bull, so then we have a conversation as in, okay, what kind of dog it is. A lot of times people are truthful and they'll tell me what it is. Sometimes they lie, they'll make up a story. But if they're truthful with me and they seem to be real decent about it, they said, I know we're not supposed to have them, but it's just a nice dog. I explained to them what the law is. So again, I've heard a lot about tonight, people speaking about the ordinance, these people having them in town. If it's illegal, then we're risking the dog. Okay. So these people here that are having the dog in town, knowing they're not supposed to, is kind of a thing issue in itself. But so I explained to them what the law is and explained to them that the dog has to be removed. Okay. And I usually work with them because I'm a dog owner too. I'm a dog lover. I love animals. That's one reason I do this position. So I understand the family part of it, of having a dog in your family. So it is tough to tell someone you have to get rid of your dog. But so I work with them. I try to give them, like, it's one lady who said, I try to work with some other phone numbers or keep it outside the city limits at a family member. So the dog can still be yours, but, and go visit it outside the city limits. So that's how that part works. And then oftentimes, for the most part, I do issue citations. It's an arrest, but I release them on a citation. So they have to appear in court on it. It's a simple misdemeanor. It's usually a $100 fine plus court cost. I usually give between 3 and 5 days to get rid of the animal. And then I usually do rechecks. Sometimes I find out later that they sneak it back and I deal with it then. The other case is if they try to deny it's not a pit bull and I believe it is, then if they are adamant that this is dog, it's not a pit bull. So what I do is I go the next step up. I make them take it to the vet. We use Pipestone Vet Service for that. They'll do a breed identification on it to see if it looks like a pit bull. If it meets their criteria, they'll say it's a pit bull. Then I have a vet telling me they believe it's a pit bull. So then at that point in time, we'll issue a citation then. If the vet says, I don't think it's a pit bull, I'm good with that, and we leave it alone and the dog stays. So I do bring the vets involved in this. So it just isn't my word only. So sometimes there's pit bull mixes that kind of look like, maybe, maybe not. And that's why I always have them take it to the vet and have it looked at. So that's in a nutshell how it works on a call that if I get one. So that's how that works.
Any questions for Officer Williams?
Yeah. Why do we have to use your vet? Why can't we just take the dog to the vet that's been taken care of all the years?
That's the one we use. So they're not biased. They've told me several times that the dog's not a pit bull. So they're very open and realistic. So they're not going to sit and say it's a pit bull just because the city uses them. So, and also on that too, it doesn't cost the dog owner any money. It goes on the city when I request that to take it to the Pipestone Vet Clinic.
Exactly. They're still using visualization of whether they use dog. That or better police officer.
Okay, we're out of order. If somebody wants to specifically address Officer Williams, you need to get up and do it appropriately. Do you want to come up front here? Go ahead. You want to identify your name again?
Felicia Morrow. Why is it that we can't have it DNA tested to actually verify that it is a higher percentage of a pit bull breed rather than something else?
I can answer that question for you. Yes. We did that for a short time where we believed it was a pit bull. The vet believed it was a pit bull, but the owner still said it's not a pit bull. So what we did is we offered the city, as a city, we will pay for that DNA test. It's a blood work done at the vet. It's sent in from another agency. So it's not the vet clinic here in town doing it. It's an out of town, and they bring back, and then they'll give us the results. So we agreed that if it comes back as a pit bull breed, then the owner has to pay back then it was like $120. And then they were supposed to pay that on top of the fine they get. If it came back not a pit bull, then the city would eat the costs on the DNA test. That's how that worked. I can tell you from experience, we had about 5 or 6 cases we dealt with that with a DNA test. Every one of them came back with a pit bull, and most of them was over 50%. So that's how that works.
And I just simply, I have questions. Marcia McDaniel. You're still, even if you're using a vet to help you visually identify the breed, you're still visually identifying it. That's where we have a problem with the visualization of labeling a dog dangerous by just looking at it because it has certain ears or a certain head or a certain body style. That's where we really have our problem, is with the visualization, identification of danger animal.
And I do understand what you're telling me, and I do from experience, you can tell, and most people can tell, that are especially around pit bulls. We're not talking about novice persons where they don't know anything about pit bulls. The people that are having pit bulls here in town that I catch them with are pit bull. They know what a pit bull is. So if I don't think it is, that's how it is. But if it's pretty obvious as a pit bull, that's where I stick with my grounds on that. So it is, I understand what they're trying to tell me here, but that's how we work that still.
So I have a couple questions,
Sure.
but just on this in general. So from some of the research I did, there's more than 20 breeds that are mistaken as pit bulls. And so I guess just to further her concern is, so if we're looking at a pit bull or a dog that we assume is a pit bull, what are those classifications? You said that there were classifications, or not, characteristics, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's the blocky head, the square snout, the blockiness, how tall they are. The 3 breeds mainly are the American Pit Bull, the Staffordshire American Staffordshire Terrier and the Staffordshire Bull Terrier. So all of them kind of combined is what we see a lot. So that's why we kind of labeled as pit bull. So has the, the ears, they're not born that way. So if I have someone with what I think is a pit bull and they got cropped ears, that puppy didn't come out that way. So ears are part of it, but it doesn't mean I've seen some pit bulls that got the floppy ears. So it's just mainly the size, the weight that I go on as well. So also too is photographs. I don't take photographs. I have to see the dog in person, just like the vet does, because photographs are hard to tell. Like you can look at a photograph of a head of a dog. It's hard to tell whether that's a pit bull or not. But once you see the dog itself in person, that's when you can make that conclusion.
So do we ask for, I know someone commented that some don't go to vets, but do you ask for the vet records too? I think you identified also.
Yes, we do. And unfortunately, a lot of times it is true. They don't have paperwork on it. The other times they do have paperwork on it. Most of the time it'll be labeled a bulldog mix or something else mix. And I have talked with the local vets here in town, and what they tell me basically is what's on this rabies certificate or the paperwork the owners have that I believe is a pit bull and has a bulldog mix on it. It's because when you call to have your dog checked out at the vet, the clerk will usually ask you on the phone, what kind of dog do you have? So it's up to the person owning the dog becomes what's on your rabies certificate. So that's the problem we see a lot. Now vets probably don't want to tell the person, hey, this is a pit bull, you can't have it here in town, because they don't want to lose a client. So that's what we see on that part. So we do see once in a while where it says it's a pit bull on their rabies certificate, but it does happen. But
I have more questions, but I see there's a gentleman behind you.
Larry, do you have another question or comment you want to make?
I was just wondering, was you a police officer when the original deal that led to the ban occurred?
Yes, I was.
And was it known, did the police know that that gentleman was a known drug addict and a known dog participant, a dog fighter?
I did not
Was
work
that
the case specifically, so I don't know the inside parts of it.
okay? Well, I was a friendly friend of the gentleman that raised that dog. His dogs were fighting dogs, and the only man that could get close to them dogs was that man. And so I was a kid when this situation happened. I remember when they called and said that the situation happened with the kid, and that gentleman should have paid for the consequences. He got money out of the deal. He should have suffered for that. And I was just wondering if it was known that he was.
Okay, so let's talk about enforcement.
Sure.
So you said, and I know you kind of went through that process, but as we all know, there are pit bulls in this community. And I know that for the new council, we've kind of started to have the conversations about enforcement in general of a lot of ordinances. So this seems like a tough ordinance to continue to enforce. So, and again, I understand you went through the process too, but can you walk me through that one more time? I just want to make sure I understand it.
Like if I got a call,
Yep,
someone having a pit bull. So if I get a report that you have a pit bull in town, I'll go to your house and speak with you and have you ask me to see your dog, and you'll bring it out to me. I'll look at it. If it's obviously a pit bull to me, I'll have a conversation with you. And if you admit to me, yeah, it's a pit bull, I know I'm not supposed to have it, but it's a nice dog, things like that, you still get a citation. If you tell me I was told it was a bulldog mix, but I had a feeling it might have been a pit bull, but I just wasn't sure, so I just kept it, you're going to get a ticket. If you flat out tell me it's not a pit bull, but I'm pretty sure it is, that's when I'll tell you, okay, you need to take it to the vet, have it evaluated by the vet, make that determination. So if the vet says it is, it's going to be labeled is. If they've labeled it not, then it's going to be not a pit bull.
So, so let's say that I think you said a citation is an arrest, or
Yes.
it's an arrest, but you give a citation.
Correct. Yeah, I don't take them to jail for it normally or make them post bond. It's just it's a citation like a ticket, and you have to appear in court at a later date to see the judge.
So what happens if you get there and you observe some pretty poor living conditions for that animal? What happens then?
That's a whole other area that I love to work on, because I am for, making sure people are taking care of their animals, regardless of what breed it is. I handle that. I made plenty of arrests on animal cruelty, sanitation and premises, confining animals, simple, not having a doghouse, outside in the weather. That's an easy citation. I enforce that all the time.
Okay, and what's the cost to the city each time you take the animal to the vet?
I believe sometimes they don't charge, but I think generally it was like a $25 fee.
Okay, is that why we went away from the?
No, I'm sorry. That on the DNA was over $120.
Okay, and that's why we switched to the vet?
Yes. Well, no,
Oh,
we've always
sorry.
kind of offered that. And then we found out that the people, weren't paying for
Mhm.
it came back as a pit bull. And then the owner was supposed to pay the $120 through the courts and they never pay it. So the city end up eating that DNA test. Now they're about $200. So that's why we don't do an DNA test unless that owner is really wanting to do the DNA test. So what we have on that too, people have tried. Well, I'll go order one of these $30 DNA tests on Amazon and do a swab on it and send it in. I'm going to show you that my dog's not a pit bull. The problem is that the chain of custody kind of thing where they could have swapped someone else's dog and try to tell me, hey, this is the results when it wasn't the results. That's why we have to take it to a licensed vet and have it done there.
And I don't know if you can answer this or if it's a legal question, but if the language isn't changed, and maybe Phil, this is for you, what does that look like for the city? I mean, what are the legal ramifications if there are any?
Well, nothing would prevent anybody from filing a suit and challenging any code that we have. I mean, that is always a possibility. I think from what I've seen compared to other communities, our code is fairly sound in most areas. I would say there's probably one area that would still, regardless of the breed-specific language itself, that would qualify for consideration of revision, and that would be looking at some kind of language or exemption for service animals. That is one thing I'd say that our code is lacking compared to other strong codes. I think a number of the comments that were here tonight, if we're looking at removing breed-specific language as an option and putting more into the owner and how the dog is or the animal is treated, I think there's some leverage or some room for that.
I guess that I should have specified a little bit more. I guess that was kind of more of my question too and direction. So either way, whether we keep it or remove it, there's potential for.
Correct, yeah. So if the council were to decide to remove the language and a year or 10 years or 100 years from now, something were to happen with an animal, a dangerous animal, there would not be anything to stop anybody from suing, saying, well, you changed this. It's on the city council for changing that. And that's why I don't have my animal or my loved one here. Again, there's nothing that prevents anybody from filing suit for anything, whether it's the language the way it's written today or making revision and some awful incident happens in the future.
I see some more people behind you, so I'll take a break from questions.
I have been advised that we really shouldn't allow the audience to ask questions of Officer Williams. He's really not the one that needs to be kind of on trial here tonight. If you have comments you want to make as a public audience, I'll allow you to make your general comments, but any other questions that needs to be asked of Officer Williams needs to come from the council. So do any of you folks have any other general comments you want to make and not a question? Go ahead.
Sorry, Larissa Drose. And my question, I guess it's not really a question now, it's more of a comment. Officer Williams says he doesn't accept pictures, which is understandable, that he wants to see the dog in person. However, when you take your dog into the vet, the vet will pull up Google Images and type in pit bull, and that is what they're comparing your dog to determine whether or not it may be a pit bull. I don't know how often you guys use Google, or if you know that sometimes you type something in Google and you get something completely different. So I'm not really sure how realistic that is to use that as a comparison. My experience has been that the vet does not touch the dog. However, in the vet report that I received about my dog was that my dog's eyes were equally reactive to light, my dog's skin was intact, things that you would have to touch the dog in order to know. And I also had my dog for 7.5 years. My dog did go to the vet routinely. walked on the walking trails routinely, was in public routinely. I was in a domestic abuse relationship where the police were in and out of my house frequently. Even after that relationship was over, I had issues with him coming, and there was 23 warrants out at a time for him. So the police went to my house while I was at work to search my house to make sure it was safe for me to go home. My dog was there. No issues, no concerns were brought up about my dog. Again, 7.5 years of having the same dog. Never ran loose, never attacked anybody, never had any issues with it being vicious. But again, the way that the law is written, everybody's addressing that it's about a pit bull. It also states any animal that has the characteristics of a pit bull. And as, I don't know, Galloway?
Kara Galloway.
Yes, as she had mentioned, there's 20 different breeds or more that are misidentified as pit bulls. However, with the way that the law is worded, those dogs would also qualify in the dog ban because they have the characteristics. So that's
Good points. Thank you.
Your Honor, if I could
Anyone
have a quick point of order.
Sure.
I know that this is a public hearing, but we have come to the point that all of the audience that wanted to participate in a public hearing had done so. So I'd hate for this to turn into a point counterpoint because we could be here all night with that. So I would love to hear from the two folks that are standing up there, but I think at some point we have to move on with the issue.
Well, real quickly, take the last two people that are standing, your comments.
Melissa Childs, and the point I want to make is that what you're seeing, this us versus them volley back and forth, is exactly what this pit bull ban does. I don't blame Officer Williams one bit for enforcing the law as it stands. That's his job. My contention today is with the law, and I think that's really what we all want to change is, he's doing his job, and he has to because that's the law as it stands. So I think the real enemy here that we need to remember is it's the law that needs to change.
Appreciate that. Thank you. One more comment, and then we're gonna go ahead and move forward.
Hi. So I was initially.
Your name, please.
Oh, my name is Rachel Jackson. I'm sorry. I was initially supposed to be here to, sign up and talk about my feelings and opinions, but unfortunately, I work at Good Samaritan as a traveling CNA, and I got mandated to work, so I had to beg, borrow, and steal to be out here right now. I did have a big speech for you guys and to let you know how I felt about the BSL laws. But I'm not going to go into it because I know you guys are on very narrow time. But I have a dog. His name is Harley. He is a red-nosed pit bull terrier, and I adopted him 2 years ago, and he was a fighting dog. He used to snarl and growl at men. And over the course of 3 months traveling with him, because I'm a traveling CNA, traveling with him and such, a lot of TLC patients and very much food oriented. He is a huge love bug. He's also my seizure alert dog. He has never, ever attacked one person. He does bark. I won't lie to you. He's a dog, but he is probably the most gracious, most sweetheart dog you've ever met. And I've never had any issues with him. And since the day I became a pit bull owner, I have been against breed-specific laws. I feel like it's discriminatory and almost racist in a sense, if you think about it, because, Chihuahuas are known to bite other people more so than other dog breeds and such. I'm sure Miss Marcia has made you all known of, the history of pit bulls and the history of dog bites and such. But like I said, I had a big speech, but I know you guys need to narrow it down. But I want to thank you guys for letting me be here. I'm not from Ottumwa, I'm from Alabama. But I just wanted to put my 2 cents in and be like, please resend the BSL. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any of the council have any more questions for Officer Williams before we move on?
Yeah, I have a few. I'll lead off with a couple of comments, though. First of all, I understand everybody's points. I'm a dog owner myself. Half the time, I value dogs more than people, quite honestly. So, so I completely understand your position. You care for your dogs. You don't want to have to give them up. So that being said, I want to come from somewhat of a point of neutrality here. I agree with what Keith Cavanis said to a certain degree. I was just starting my career at the Ottumwa Courier, and I remember being in the office the day that that child was attacked and killed. To answer the person in the audience, yes, there were several of us in the community knew that the person that owned that pit bull was running a dog fighting ring. There were several of us in the community that knew that there were some substances that were involved in that. We knew that they tortured their animals. We knew that, and that was reported on at the time. So I also agree with several of the things that Ms. Minks and Ms. McDaniel said. You know, I fully agree that pit bulls are fantastic animals. It is nurture. It's not nature. Several of those animals turn out to be a beautiful dog. What I do want to, again, from a point of neutrality, hope everybody understands that. First of all, I applaud every one of you for making it out. It's always, I've said this several times in the past, it's always good to see an audience full of people. So the fact that you're vocal about something says that you're taking an active role in the community, and I really appreciate that. Okay. So just so everybody understands, though, for every one of you that are here tonight, there's at least one person that's absolutely vehemently opposed to lifting this ban. Just so we're walking on a level ground here. And also another thing, you're asking a monumental task to the point that Administrator Rath just mentioned. You are asking this city council to make a decision that if something bad happens as a result of this, you folks get to walk away from this. This city council are the 5 people that have the blood of a child on their hands if this happens again. And not that I assume that anybody up here is willing to take that risk and make that decision. Just understand where the hesitancy of the people up here that are making this decision, because it's us that are going to have to sleep with the consequences if we lift this ban and 4 days later a child dies as a result of us lifting the ban, and we have a lot of pit bulls that are brought to light in the community. I don't think any of us are naive enough to think that the pit bulls aren't already here, but bringing them out to the light of the day. And I think that my words are kind of proven by several people in the audience that said they are here, they're just neglected, and they're not socialized. If they're brought out and they are put in a position where the unfortunate happens, then again, it's us that are going to suffer the consequences of that, and the unfortunate family that is tied with that person. So with that, I said this, I met with Ms. Minks and Ms. McDaniel a few months ago, probably at this point. And again, I don't disagree with what they say, but I did say one thing to them very specifically at that point, and I'm going to make the challenge publicly tonight. And this is something that this will not be the first time that Officer Williams has heard this, or Chief Farrington. We have revised the animal ordinance twice in the last 6 years in the city of Ottumwa. Obviously, the breed-specific legislation was not a piece of that puzzle. However, the one consistent message that I heard both times that this issue in general was visited was enforcement. And I'm not talking specific to a breed. We could be talking about animal torture, an animal being put out on a leash that's 2 foot long in the backyard in weather such as this, where water's frozen in the backyard, or in the summer when it's 105 degrees out and there's no water out. Dogs that are starving in the yard, dogs that are very clearly beaten. What's the one thing that Officer Williams says? I can't do anything about it because if I take it to the county attorney for prosecution, they don't do anything. So it makes it hard to prosecute. My point to that is, I think if we're going to have this discussion, we need to have all parties at the table. So if we're going to make a change that's going to change the enforcement a third time, that we have some sort of guarantee that if something does go bump in the night, that we're actually going to be able to take care of the problem. I'm not saying that the current legislation works. It's very clear that it doesn't work. But if we're going to make a change, it has to be something that we can actually enforce. And I know that the police department is a piece of that puzzle, but the county attorney's office is a piece of that puzzle as well. And I would absolutely welcome the conversation from their office when we actually discuss this again, so we can get some sort of understanding what their prosecution process looks like. And if we make changes, and I, for one, if we're going to make changes to the breed-specific legislation, would really like to add enforcement for other pieces, because I do believe that while most people in this community are responsible animal owners, there's a big section of this community that's not. And I can walk down any alley in this community and see it. So if we're going to make changes, we need to continue to make the changes to make the lives of all of the animals better. And the county attorney has to be a part of that process. There has to be a mechanism in place that we can ensure that the laws that we're putting in place are going to be enforced. We already have enough ordinances in our code that we have trouble taking care of now. It would be unfortunate to make more changes that, quite honestly, and I've helped do the ordinance the first time it was changed within the last 6 years. There needs to be more done, and if we're going to do this a third time, it needs to be done correctly this time, and we need to make sure that it's enforceable, and we need to have all the parties at the table while we're doing that.
So I have a comment too. Sorry. So I know that Councilperson Rowe, at the last time when the petition was presented, I think you may have said a similar speech, not the exact one, but a similar one too. So I guess my question is, has any conversation been had with the county attorney? Maybe that's for you. I don't know which one, but on enforcement.
I have not specifically had that conversation with county attorney. I don't know if Jeff has.
Yeah, generally we work with the city attorneys on city charges. So when the county attorney comes involved is when we work with more serious charges, whether it's like a death of an animal, things like that, becomes a serious misdemeanor. That's when we usually use the county attorney for cases like that. And so basically all the city animals are the violations under the city, we deal with the city attorneys on. So that kind of answers that question parts. But the county attorney is involved in more serious stuff.
I guess my comment is, if we have pet owners that are in fear of losing their pets, that's why the pets aren't going to the vet. We need some documentation of exactly how many pets are in town for us to be able to move forward in a certain section of this as well. But they don't need to be in fear of losing their pet if they take their pet to the vet.
So I can answer that question for you.
Okay.
They're not automatically going to lose it. We're not going to take that dog from them. We're not going to seize it from them. We could if it keeps on going down the process. But the first time I meet you and you have a pit bull, I'm not going to take that dog away from your kids. I mean, yeah, we're going to have to work out a timeline when the dog needs to go. But, if they take their dog to a vet, we're not going to take that dog from them from the vet just because they took it to the vet.
But you're still stating that the dog will be taken. So
or removed. I mean, we're not
Or
going to take it.
removed.
Yeah.
But I mean, that still have a pet owner living in fear of taking their pet to the vet with fear of losing it. So yes, it needs to be revised. It needs to be revised from all sides so we can make this, have it look better, have it feel better to families. Because I have a vicious Pomeranian and a vicious Yorkie. She's more vicious at 6 pounds than him at 13. She won't let nobody come near my house shoes. She bite them. So we need to do some revising on some things.
Anybody else have any questions, comments for Officer Williams from the council?
I just wanted to make a clarification with you. You said that some of these owners are taking their dogs to the vets and they're getting like their rabies and stuff like that done.
Yes.
And on the rabies, it says that they're not a pit bull.
Well, they'll have a different breed, like if
Okay.
they have like a breed of like a bulldog mix or.
So if they have that and like say it's a local vet, are you still making them take it to Pipestone and have Pipestone clarify that it's not a pit
Yes,
bull?
because like I said before, a lot of times the vet, wherever they go to, the clerk will ask them, what dog do you have? What kind of dog do you have? And you're going to tell them what it is. And that's what they write down. They don't, I've talked to the vets and they don't do a breed analysis on every dog that comes into their facility, whether it's a chocolate lab or a Yorkie. They just go by what you tell the clerk at the time. And then that stays in the system as what kind of dog it is. So there's a lot of times, I had a case one time that is a mail carrier that got bit by a pit bull, and it's obviously a full-blooded pit bull. And she started bringing out this paper saying it's a bulldog. And okay, well, it's not a bull, so I can't accept that rabies certificate because this is from a bulldog, and we had to quarantine the dog and everything like that. So I mean, that's where that does come in a problem. But that's what, to answer that question, the vets don't do a breed analysis on every dog that comes into the facility.
Any other questions from the council? If not, I'm going to ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Galloway? Yes. Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Resolution number 3, 2022, providing for the financial support of the Area 15 Regional Planning Commission for fiscal year 2023 for a total amount of $13,019.79. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 3, 2022.
Do we have a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
We have a second?
Second.
Phil, are you going to go ahead and take this?
Yes, yeah. So as stated in the staff summary, it's in accordance with the 1973 Articles of Agreement with Area 15 Regional Planning Commission. The city is responsible for 0.51 or 51 cents per capita. That calculation, as presented by Area 15, was $13,019.79 for the period July 1, 2022 through June 30, 2023. This is an annual agreement that we have with them. The numbers change based off of the estimated population, and the amount is there for that. Can answer any questions with that.
Go ahead and take the roll, Chris.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Resolution number 4, 2022, providing for the financial support of the Area 15 Regional Planning Affiliation, RPA 15, and the amount of $3,973 for the fiscal year 2023. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 4, 2022.
Do we have a motion?
Move the recommendations presented.
Second. Okay. Phil, do you want to take this one also?
Yeah, similar to the last resolution, this is an annual amount. So the city is estimated to receive just over $500,000 in financial support. In return, we do have to, or Area 15 puts in the 20% match, which is $18,163. The city's share of that is estimated to be $3,973. And that is the matching part for the planning grant.
Any questions for Phil? If not, Chris, take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Resolution number 5, 2022, approving updates to the personnel policies for the city of Ottumwa. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 5, 2022.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make them a motion.
Is it second?
Second.
Okay, Phil, I think you're going to take this one also.
I will take this one, yes, on behalf of Director of HR, Barb Kojo. So there are two changes that are being proposed to the personnel policy. The first one, it was a meeting or two ago where we talked about the field supervisors and adding those in. The engineering supervisor was inadvertently left off of that list. This is adding that position in to be treated the same terms for callouts for the employees they supervise regarding classified events, callbacks, and mandatory overtime. So this is just making sure that it's a catch up for that. The second thing is removing the wording under the parental leave section that contradicts the current leave of absence policy, and that is removing the 2 weeks wording.
Any questions for Phil? If not, Chris, go ahead and take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Resolution number 9, 2022, accept the proposed extension from Allers and Cooney PC for the provision of general legal services effective calendar years 2022 through 2023. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 9, 2022.
Do we have a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second?
Second.
Phil, I think you're going to take this one too.
I've got this one and probably the next one, the way it's working out. So in 2020, the city moved to contracted legal services, and that was following the retirement of then city attorney. At the time, city staff prepared a request for proposals. City council interviewed 3 firms, ultimately contracting with Allers and Cooney. And that was through resolution 230-2020 for reference. The relationship, I feel, is working well. I've talked with staff, also feel things are working well. We've had great coverage, not only from general legal, but anything specified, whether it's community development or other areas as well. Copy of the engagement letter is attached for council review and public review. As with the prior resolution, I'm requesting discretion to utilize other legal firms as necessary based upon any potential conflict of interest issues, access to the firm, or if it's more efficient to use anyone else.
Any questions for Phil? If not, Chris, go ahead and take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Resolution number 12, 2022, approving matching $750,000 contribution for the construction of improved tennis campus. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 12, 2022.
Do we have a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Phil, you're up.
All right. So at the last meeting, we had a presentation, and I see a few of the faces in the audience here again tonight, talking about the status of the tennis courts, the ability for the school district to be able to hold events on the city courts, and the general safety concerns of the tennis courts for the city, creating liability issues and other things for us. The district had previously approached the city and the Friends of Ottumwa's Parks about the condition of those courts, and they were prepared to proceed with construction of their own courts just to be able to hold their tennis meets. I know they've got a fall and a spring session. But because we had been talking and the Friends had approached the city about doing more with the courts and improving the facilities, the school district said, well, we can hold. They don't want to wait forever. They don't want to wait several years for something to develop. They have funds now that they can proceed with, but they're willing to leverage those funds with funds from the city, friends from the Friends group, to be able to build a better court, a better facility, a better campus for tennis. The estimated cost for that would be $2.2 million, which would get 12 post-tension concrete courts. These are courts, I'd call them state-of-the-art. They require very little maintenance over time. They play really well. That would also include the fencing and wind screening around those courts, would include any additional parking that would be necessary, as well as ADA restroom facilities, and a concession area that could be used not only for tennis meets when those would occur, but tournaments that could happen to help bring in that sports revenue, and also any leagues that could be created as a result of this. There are a number of leagues, Des Moines, Iowa City. There's a group that plays out of Fairfield. We can maybe capture some of that. And when people come and they play in these tournaments, it's not just right there at the court. They're going to go out to dinner. They're going to grab gas. There's some of those things. And talking about sports tourism as a growing industry, economic development driver, something that Andrew Wartenberg was talking about before he left, was helping to develop that. What we're looking at with our Greater Ottumwa Parks plan and overall view of that is really driving that and making this a regional sports destination. The sports complex that was just rolled out last Thursday night, all of that is looking at what we're trying to do in this area. By having the school district wait another season, that helps us leverage something that we can get for a third of the cost. So that's why we have that here before you and recommending that for approval.
Does any council have questions for Phil?
Okay. So in general, I'm in favor of this. I do have a couple of questions, though, some related directly to this, and then a couple of other questions as a follow-up. Is there a written plan for this tennis project yet?
So there's not we don't have the plan designs. That is one of the things I kind of mentioned at the last meeting with this. The park plan is currently under operation right now. So as far as where the location would be, our comprehensive plan showed it in Sycamore Park. There was some early discussion about if that was the best location or not. I think all of the entities involved have agreed that whatever comes out of that plan for location would be where that would be, whether that's Sycamore Park, somewhere in Greater Ottumwa Park, but in that general vicinity is where we're looking at, the central area of the city. The other thing is we have cost estimates that were the Friends group, a couple tennis enthusiasts that are involved with that, have come up with an approximate cost plan of the $2.2 million for this type of facility and all the amenities that go along with that. That will be finalized as part of this plan as well. That's one of the things that they're working on. The design workshop is working on. It's coming up with cost estimates, timeframes, locations, all of that. So we don't have the final plans on that. No, that is something that Director of Parks, Gene Rathje, and I have talked about, trying to get somebody out to do that in conjunction where the location is being done, so that we can meet the time frame of having construction yet this year.
Okay, so that being said, we're being asked to contribute $750,000 this evening. All you have at this point are estimates. If the project, I'm assuming there's a contingency built into the $2.2 million. If it comes in at $2.5 million, who covers the overage?
So my understanding, and I know they're here tonight, the school district was willing to put in the 750, matching whatever the city puts in, and the city would put in that. That'd leave the $1.5 million of that money in. If there was another $1 million or $300,000 overrun, my understanding is the Friends is fundraising the balance of that. I see heads shaking, so that was my understanding. And to answer that.
Because I'll be honest with you, again, I support this idea, but I would not be in favor of supporting something where we would have to come back a month later and with another $100,000, even $50,000 ask, because this is what we're being asked to support tonight. And I think that this conversation really goes to a bigger topic with the Parks Department in general and the condition of the parks in the community. We've had over the last probably decade, maybe 2 decades, and looking back at some of the things that have taken place in the city of Ottumwa, where we put these plans together for the Parks Department because everybody in the community really wants to have nice parks. It's one of the quality of life amenities that Ottumwa really prides itself on. We have 29 parks, is that right, Gene? 22 parks in the community. How many employees do we have? Okay, so we have 22 and how many acres? 600 and how many? Okay, so over the last couple of decades, we have dropped down a significant number of parks employees, and we haven't dropped the acreage of parks really that much, if any. But we keep saying as a community, and we keep spending all this money on parks plans to say, well, we're going to have to kick that down the road a little bit because we don't have money for the Parks Department. As a matter of fact, we're going to cut a parks employee because we don't have money in the general fund for that. Full disclosure, I'm guilty of that as well. But at some point, I think that we need to have the broader conversation. If we're going to keep piecemealing these projects, we're going to have to approach the conversation of taking our parks seriously, because right now, I feel sorry for Gene, because him and his employees are being tasked every day to do more and more with less and less, and we have volunteers, friends of the Parks Department. One of them, I know some folks that are doing the Memorial Park Bikes Trail. There's so many volunteers doing stuff that is ultimately the city of Ottumwa's responsibility, but we don't have the staffing to take care of it. And if we didn't have the good nature of those volunteers, our Parks Department would fall to ruins. And again, as a quality of life measure, at what point do we say, listen, we either need to invest in it or we need to, and I know that there's some legal issues involved with this, we need to somehow walk away from these parks because we don't have the staffing to take care of it. We have to, if we're going to spend money on a parks plan, we need to start actually paying attention to the parks plan and not treating it like the stepchild that nobody wants around as soon as the opportunity presents itself that we can, because Gene's bless his heart has been trying to get a shower house for several years, and we keep telling him he can't have it because we don't have the funds. We're spending money on contract employees that probably I'm assuming they're doing a great job, but we can't hold them accountable like we can regular employees. So just a broader conversation that the $750,000, which turns into 2.2, is nice, but that's only one facet of a bigger picture that really needs to be taken care of.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just the reason this is before you now without that full plan and everything else is because of the school district needing to know where they're going to commit their dollars to. Because I said, if the city isn't prepared to do this at this time, they will most likely look to build their own because of their needs. They're not reliant on the city to have to do this, but it'd be great partnership to be able to do this and to leverage those funds. And from the fundraising side for the Friends, they need to know that this is a project that is going to happen, that they can make sure that they're getting their ducks in a row as far as that fundraising piece. That's why it's here before you, so that they know that the city is on board and we're willing to do that, or we're not at this time. And that's kind of where my commitment to them, to the Friends was, and the school district was to say, well, I'll get it before the council at least, let you make that decision, and then they know where they can go with their efforts going forward.
Well, I think it's a great idea that gets students and children a place. And I believe with the school district involved, bringing forth more finances and more competitions, and that brings more people into our community. So I think it's a great idea, myself personally.
So I have a question for Kayla, but before I'm going to just say, Jean, I do want to thank you. I remember a few years back, I emailed you about a park being dirty, and it was my daughter's favorite park, and I have not seen that park dirty since, and I really appreciate that. I appreciate everything you do, but that holds a special place in my heart. But Kayla, can you kind of give us some information on how this would be paid for? So if we elected to do it today, what are our finance options?
Well, on the staff summary, it says that we can use our ARPA funds, or we could do some bonding for it. So, as you know, multiple people have asked us to use our ARPA funds, and we've probably spent it 6 or 7 times from all those asks. But again, this is a qualifying project that we could put on our capital improvement plan for this year and bond for it. And we've set ourselves up as a city for the last couple of years to be able to do this project and other projects. So in the next couple of weeks here, we will be meeting with the council to go over our list from ARPA and also our capital improvement list when we meet with you to go over our budget. And so at that point in time, you guys will probably have a better idea of how you want to fund this if you want to continue with this project on one of our projects lists, either the ARPA project list or our capital improvement project list. So, again, this project has been included when we've been working through the budget one way or another. And, at this point in time, we don't foresee it, raising taxes or anything along those lines. And I mean, again, to address some of Mark's issues, we've been discussing on how we can get our Parks Department and other departments in the city some help. And with that, we need some relief in the general fund in order to fund some of those positions within the general fund. So some of those discussions we'll be able to have with you guys when we discuss the budget as well.
Thank you.
So this project does qualify for either CIP funding or ARPA funding, either one.
Yes, it does. And I'm not sure if that's why the $750,000 was chosen or not, but that's pretty much the max that we can do for the CIP for those projects. So they can't really come back and ask us for more money unless we want to go out for a vote or something along those lines.
And I have one more question and then a comment. So I attended the Wapello County Supervisor meeting today, and I actually talked with someone today about this. So the question's coming unless Phil's going to answer it or Mike back there, sorry. So the supervisors, someone on the supervisors, Brian Morgan, had identified that, for this program to be successful, you would need someone to manage tournaments. So how are we going to get tournaments into, ensure that we're having tournaments played? So I don't know if one of you would can I have them answer that?
Well, it'd be the prerogative of the council. And I think Mark Gardner maybe has some information about that as well.
Yes, and Mr. Gardner was who I spoke to about this earlier.
We had a great conversation. Mark Gardner. The whole idea, one of the grants would be through the USTA, and part of their rules, we'll say, or whatever, I don't know what they call it, but we have to do tournaments, we have to do kids leagues, adult leagues in order to get the 100,000 that they're offering. So it's going to happen. My daughter, actually, one of her part-time gigs is with the USTA, and she is waiting to come down here to proceed to be able to get tournaments started and show people how to run tournaments, how to do the computer work and all that stuff, so they can actually get rated. So when they go to other towns, that they get into the right category, so they're not playing Djokovic when he's only 5,
He can't
that type
play.
of thing. So you're playing with kids that are your same category.
Thank you. Yep, that's it. Thank you. And then my last comment is that, so if we were to tonight as a council say 750,000, could we say up to that amount? So if the study came back lower, then we would be responsible, or a third, up to 750 or a third of the project?
Yeah, I would think so. So you're saying if it came back at 2 million or 1.5 million or something to that degree. Yeah, I think the model that was pretty much portrayed earlier on was about a third from each of the entities. And like I said, the school district, their proposal last meeting was to match up to that 750,000. So if it came back that it was only 1.5 million and each of the entities was putting in 500,000, I don't know that anyone would worry about that as much.
I guess that was a question, not a comment. I apologize.
Anyone have any other questions?
I got a comment if I could, and a question. I guess I had talked with Mark a little bit earlier today, and we had a good conversation. So one of the questions I would have is, how come the tennis courts wasn't on the same team or working together with the sports complex to have it all put together for one, and they'd be asking for money one time. As far as $750,000, we as a council has not sat down and discussed where this $750,000 is coming from. Four of us are brand new council members, and we're asked to vote on $750,000, and we don't even know all these different groups that makes the city run, what's in each one of them budgets. And then to say that we'll take it from a COVID relief fund or we'll borrow money for that, when we don't understand the budget yet, I think it's something that we should table, like Kayla just said. In a couple more weeks, we would have a better idea. And I think it's only fair as a council to learn a little bit more about our job before we vote on something that's $750,000.
So first off, I want to just say thank you to the Friends of Ottumwa Park and to the school board for bringing this to us. The parks has been something that I've looked at for years as we're needing to improve, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to look at our parks. And I'll echo what Councilperson Rowe said. You know, we're going to have this big plan, and we need to do something with it. We need to move it forward rather than letting it sit. On this proposal here, I would feel more comfortable, like Councilperson Galloway said, wording it as a third or up to 750,000. And I would even throw on the caveat of it has to go in the park over there. So, you know, we're going to spend $750,000 to build these tennis courts. I would like to make sure that we're putting them in the place that where we wanted to designate them as. I know you've said that, you know, that's the intentions, but I would like to see it actually be the spot that we put them at. And I don't think the Friends of Ottumwa Park or the school board would probably have a problem with that at all.
You said area designated by the park plan?
Yeah, the area designated by the park plan. But I think this is an absolutely necessity that we need these. So, you know.
So just point of clarification. If I think I know the answer to this, but I'm just going to ask it anyway. We approve a matching $750,000 tonight. The final bid price comes in at $1.8 million. I'm not going to bother to do the math in my head, which obviously roughly a third of this cost is less than $750,000. Is the obligation at that point from the city's perspective to pay $750,000 or the third match of that?
That's what I was saying, that we say up to, but a third of the final cost.
Well, and the reason that I'm asking that is, do we need to change this motion or will it stand as written?
I believe you'll need to change the motion.
The resolution will also need to be changed.
Right.
So you would probably want to bring a new resolution to the table.
So we do have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 12-2022. So I suppose we need to go ahead and take the roll and either vote it up or vote it down.
Clarification. So how would this work? So if we want to, and you modify it?
If the resolution states the exact amount of 750,000, you will want to have a new resolution to approve. And Christine is on the line. Can she clarify that as well?
Christine, did you hear it?
from the dais, make a motion to approve a resolution with an amendment. But that amendment should be very clear. Otherwise, they could direct staff to revise the resolution and bring it back at the next meeting. If there's any questions about that.
Okay, so that being said, I would make a motion to amend the current resolution to read approving matching up to $750,000 or $750,000 contribution for the construction of improved tennis campus.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Any further discussion? If not, Chris, you want to go ahead and take the roll?
So just to be clear, this was a motion to amend
Correct.
the resolution. So that's what you're voting on. You're not voting on the resolution itself, but the amendment to the resolution.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Then I believe you would need to vote on the resolution itself as amended.
Do we have a motion to approve the revised resolution?
Don't we already have that?
You voted to amend the resolution,
Great.
So now we're voting on.
to vote to
On the
actual the
resolution.
resolution as amended or revised.
So we're voting for it now. Whether we're for it or
Is that correct, Christine?
Yeah, that's fine. I think, one vote would have been sufficient, but if you want to be clear that you're voting to approve the amended resolution, it doesn't hurt to take another vote.
So do we have a second to the revised resolution?
Who was the first?
Mark,
Well,
was
you had
it?
the motion
Mark was-
before.
And I
Yep.
seconded.
So we're going from that one again? I thought we had to redo it.
I thought so too.
Okay, so I'll make the motion to approve the resolution as amended.
Don't we already?
Second.
Okay.
And now it's the revised up to $750,000. So when she-
So does everybody understand what you're voting on? The revised resolution up to 750,000. Okay, Chris, you want to take the roll?
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
no.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1. Ordinance number 3189, 2022, amending sections 38,963 and 38,966 of the Municipal Code of the City of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa, for the purpose of increasing the sign allowance for schools located in residential zones and making clarifying changes in said sections. Recommendation passed the first consideration of ordinance 3189, 2022.
Can we combine both of them or not?
Do them separately.
Okay. Do we have a recommendation to approve that recommendation? Motion, sorry.
Motion to recommend, no. Motion to move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay. Zach, I believe you're going to take this.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. The school district did request the city look at sign permit applications for new school signs. The sign permits that were proposed at that time were larger than what is allowed for signs at a school in a residential neighborhood. The code currently allows 24 square feet for a bulletin board sign for a school or other conditional use in a residential neighborhood. The signs that they were looking at were around 54 square feet. And looking at the application, the nature of school signs has changed, especially since the pandemic, but even before that, a lot of announcements are made on school signs that are vital to parents and vital to the community about how to drop off students, about public health measures, about schedule changes, all those sorts of things. And so allowing for the larger sign that would allow for more information to be displayed really would be a benefit to the community. But that presented us kind of two directions we could go in. We could either revisit the conditional use permits for all schools in the school district and change those one by one, or we could change the code. And looking at that, that would really only leave one school that was following the rule as it would be in the code, which would be the Christian school on Wildwood, and every other school would be exempted. It just made sense to change the code instead of creating an exemption for everybody. And this code change would allow for up to 60 square feet for these signs. It also makes a few clarifying changes. One is that it would add a definition to bulletin board signs, which wasn't there before. It would also add a definition for direct and indirect illumination. It does seek to be more in compliance with case law that our attorneys brought to us about content being regulated in a sign code. We're supposed to try to stay away from that now and just look at form, which this does do a better job of. And then the final thing I'll say is that we do ask tonight to look at waiving readings for the ordinance and adopt it all in one night. An ordinance does require 3 readings or a motion to waive those readings. And we are asking to waive those readings because we do have the applications pending, and this is work that, it'd be in the public interest and in the interest of the taxpayer to have the schools get that work done as soon as they can. It is a fairly simple question. Do we want to allow schools more sign or not? So we are asking you to consider waiving those readings tonight as well.
I make a motion, we waive the 3 readings.
I guess I have a question, because if we're going to be changing some signs, are the signs going to be in different languages or what? Or are they just going to be in English?
So the signs that they're applying to have will say the name of the school, and then they'll have a illuminated panel that can change text. I don't know that they're planning on displaying, I don't know any of the messages that they're planning on displaying on it. And our attorneys did recommend that the code was neutral on that. The original definition we'd put in for bulletin board sign was that it would provide messages for a civic use type, and they said that we should probably just say that it would provide announcements and not describe the content. But knowing the schools, I think whatever they're going to put on there would be consistent with their, be the best program. And I think that they'd probably want to try to be as inclusive as they can. So.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're paying attention to our community.
Any other questions for Zach regarding the first consideration of the ordinance? If not, Chris, you want to go ahead and take a roll?
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Waive the second and third considerations, pass and adopt ordinance number 3189, 2022.
Do we have a motion to do that?
I make a motion to waive them.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion or questions for Zach? If not, go ahead and take the roll, Chris.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
This is a point in our city council meeting where I ask if there's anyone in the audience that wants to address any other items that are not on tonight's agenda. Anything else you want to bring up to the council? If not, I believe we have no petitions or other communications.
I just have one thing. I know we've been here for a long time, but I just have one other thing I want to say. So over the last week, I guess they're not here today, but I want to say a thank you to Sonia, our library director, and the staff at the library for ensuring that our library is a diverse, inclusive place. We live in a time where the library is so much more than just a place where you check out books, and they have made a welcoming environment. And I just really want to publicly say I appreciate them and I thank them.
Somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Chris, go ahead and take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 7:35. 7:32? Okay.